Hey guys, it's Greg Hardy, and today we're going to go over several reasons why investment real estate isn't for you if you're wanting a strictly passive form of income. Don't get me wrong, real estate is a fantastic investment and can provide you with a great deal of wealth, but make no mistake about it, investment real estate is not passive income, despite what you might see online or in those get-rich-quick schemes. Before we get into that, if you'd like to see more videos like this, please hit that like button. It lets me know that the content I'm providing to you is relevant, that you'd like to see more content like this. Plus, it really helps my channel to grow, and subscribing helps too. Many people believe that owning rental properties is a good way to generate passive income. But the truth is, managing your own rental properties can be a lot more work than you might think. So first, let's define exactly what is passive income. Passive income is simply collecting earnings from an investment in which you are not actively involved, and you get paid money with little or no effort. If you think that describes rental real estate, then you need to listen closely to this video. Having been in real estate now for a couple decades, I frequently come across investors that have this plan in mind. They borrow money from a bank, buy a rental property, the tenant pays off the mortgage by making the rent payments every month. Then they take the equity from the home and repeat the process, buying more and more properties and become some kind of real estate tycoon. A lot of first-time investors think owning a rental property is a simple, easy way to add to their monthly income. Even if you hire a property manager or a property management company, you still have plenty of responsibilities. My goal for this video is to make you aware of what investment real estate entails, and after watching this video and listening to the reasons I'll provide about why real estate investing isn't passive income doesn't deter you, then by all means give it a go. Let's cover those reasons now. Up first is paperwork. Who doesn't love paperwork, right? In fact, I just spent a couple hours going over the year-end summary that my property management company sent me over regarding our rentals and the income and expenses for the previous year. Not only did they have expenses, but I had expenses on the homes too. I had contractors do some work during a tenant turnover that I had to cross-reference with the expenses that my management company received to ensure that there were no duplications that occurred for tax purposes. Aside from taxes, there are certain forms you'll need to have handy. Some of them are your rental applications, a leasing agreement, a move-in and move-out inspection checklist, notices like late payment or non-renewal forms, and rental receipts, just to name a few. Managing the property yourself might sound great, especially because you don't have to pay a property manager and save that management fee, which is around 10%. It may be for some of you, but probably won't be for most of you. I managed our first couple of rentals just for the experience, and I can certainly appreciate all the full-time property managers out there. When you manage the property yourself, you have direct contact with the tenant. That means they'll call you directly for any issues that arise with the home, and those problems tend to happen most often on holidays, weekends, and after hours. When it's time to find a tenant, you'll have to market the home and answer all the phone calls inquiring about the rent. You'll also have to screen each of the tenants who apply with credit and background checks, possibly show each of them the home, assess their applications, collect deposits, and rent payments. Because you're collecting deposit and rent payments, you need to set up banking accounts. We created 2 separate business checking accounts for all income and operating expenses. One account for rents and the other for security deposits. You can't mix the two. That's a commingling of funds, and that's a big no-no. Tracking your income and expenses allows you to oversee how much money is flowing into and out of your property. We keep a certain amount of money in our account in case of any needed repairs or renovations we might have. I find it useful to track all of our income and expenses in a more detailed Excel spreadsheet. If you're buying a new build, it's likely that the property you're buying will need some improvements done to it. They might be minor things like paint and flooring, but some properties might need a complete overhaul like a new kitchen and bathroom, mechanicals such as heating and air, or maybe a water heater or a new roof. I've been intentional when buying a home to rent that I've replaced the mechanicals if they are over 10 years old. That includes the AC, furnace, water heater. They're high-dollar fixes, but should provide a better quality experience for the tenant and decrease the risk of problems down the road. Rental homes take a lot of abuse, and inevitably things will break and get damaged. Some things are results of wear and tear, and others, well, you get the picture. It's the landlord's responsibility to keep the property clean and safe for the tenants. This is not only your responsibility, but it's required by many state and local laws regarding rental properties. I had a home recently where the tenant was so nice as to leave everything in the home that they didn't want, including rotten food in the refrigerator, after moving out. Ultimately resulted in having to replace the refrigerator. The tenant also left without paying the last 2 months of rent. At a bare minimum, expect to have to paint the inside of the homes after every tenant leaves. I advise against carpet, but if you have any, you'll probably have to replace that too. Also, in between tenants, expect to have to mow the lawn and maintain the exterior of the home. A good rule of thumb is the square foot rule, which assigns $1 per square foot of the home towards maintenance costs. So for example, if your home is 1,000 square feet, you would allot $1,000 towards repair costs in a given year. There's also the 1% rule, which says if your home is worth $200,000, you would allot $2,000 for upkeep and repairs. If you or the tenant doesn't maintain the property, you can be hit with a code violation. That typically involves things on the exterior of the home like parking in the grass, the lawn needing to be mowed, or a fence in need of repair. Code enforcement will typically try to gain voluntary compliance from either the tenant or the property owner within a specified period of time. Failure to rectify these violations can and probably will lead to more sanctions and financial penalties. I consistently see homes in my area that should rent for $950 to $1,000 a month that are still being rented for $650 to $700. I find many landlords seldom ever raise the rent because they don't want to make the tenant mad or risk them moving out. It also has to do with just not being educated enough to know how much and when to raise the rents. Even worse though, it devalues your rental property. Rental properties need a rental analysis to be performed around the end of the current tenant's lease. I've used Rentometer with great success. Be aware that if a rental property is located in a city or a state that has rent control laws, there may be rules that limit the amount of a rental increase, even if it can be raised at all. In many states, a landlord is required to provide a written notice of at least 30 days before raising the rent. Honestly, that's just good business practice. A rent increase letter is a formal notice that's given to the tenant that the rent is going to go up. Word of mouth just doesn't cut it. When renting to a tenant, you would better have a legal rental agreement in place and stick to it. Although tenants may have a sob story to tell, it's their obligation to pay and you to receive on-time and complete rental payments. This is critical to your success as a rental property owner. On that note, landlords must also enforce consequences if the tenant is late on the rent or violates any of the lease terms. By being buddy-buddy with your tenants and failure to enforce consequences sets a precedent that you're too lenient and a pushover, and some tenants will take advantage of that. You're also responsible for abiding by local landlord-tenant laws, which includes security deposit limits and grace periods for late payments, as well as any other rules and regulations associated with renting out properties in your area, depending on where you live. Having knowledge regarding local statutes, as well as having access to resources like lawyers who specialize in real estate law, in case there are any disputes between yourself and tenants, which could lead to costly litigation proceedings down the line if not handled properly from day one. Also be aware of things like fair housing, which means you can't discriminate based on race, color, religion, age, sex, national origin, family status, or mental or physical disabilities under the Federal Fair Housing Act. Fair housing protects people from discrimination when applying not only for rental housing, but when buying a home, getting a mortgage, seeking housing assistance, or engaging in other housing-related activities. For example, setting a higher rent for someone with a disability, or refusing to rent to someone based on the color of their skin or because they have children. Any violation of this can have serious legal implications against you. Just because a tenant doesn't pay the rent doesn't mean you can just change the locks and throw them out. There are many processes that'll have to be done, and failure to do so will make a long process even longer. Since evictions are legal proceedings, I would highly encourage you to seek the advice of legal counsel. Evictions can be costly and in certain circumstances aren't a guarantee. You also have to go to court and have the case heard before a judge. All of this takes time, energy, and effort on your part. So as you can see, owning rental property isn't exactly passive, but that doesn't mean it isn't rewarding or profitable. This video wasn't made with the intention to scare you away from real estate investing, but to bring to light what most don't or won't tell you in order to prepare you for what's ahead. Knowing the truth about real estate investing is important to making well-informed decisions about your financial future. By watching this video, you've already taken a big step in educating yourself on the risks and rewards of rental properties. Feel free to comment below on your experiences with real estate and if you found it easier or harder than you expected, or if this video was a real eye-opener for you. With that said, thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you liked this video and that you got something out of it. I encourage you to watch more videos as it relates to real estate on this channel. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.